As Israel expands its war on Gaza, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are again forced from their homes. Israel's Prime Minister has vowed to seize all of the Strip. So as its humanitarian crisis worsens, who can stop Benjamin Netanyahu's plans? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finighan. Israel expands its military operation in Gaza with increased bombardments by air and more troops on the ground. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he wants to take control of the entire Strip. That's something that Palestinian commentators have long been saying. Netanyahu added the ultimate result of this will be the forcible expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza. While partially lifting the intensive blockade of the Strip that's now in its third month, he said he's only doing so to appease his supporters in the US. So what does this mean for the future of Gaza and for the Palestinians suffering displacement, starvation and the constant threat of death? We'll get to our guests in just a moment. But first, our report from Imogen Kimber.
Thousands of Palestinians flee what Israel calls an unprecedented attack in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza.
We don't know where to go. We don't know if there is any safe place to go to.
We are being destroyed, sent up and down the Gaza Strip, while our children are dying.
The new assault is part of Israel's intensification of its military operations in Gaza. Increased airstrikes and a ground offensive in the south, killing hundreds of people in a few days. Israel's Prime Minister says the inevitable result will be the forced expulsion of Palestinians.
There is huge fighting going on, intense and huge. We're going to control all parts of the Gaza Strip. That's what we're going to do.
A 2-month total blockade has worsened already diabolical humanitarian conditions in Gaza. All of the approximately 2.3 million people in the Strip are at risk of starvation, and medical supplies are rare. Israel has allowed in a small amount of aid, saying distribution will increase over the next few days. It claimed it wanted to avoid supplies being taken by Hamas. But Canada, France and the UK say the aid is woefully inadequate and have threatened to take what they call concrete action if the renewed offensive doesn't stop.
Because it is a really serious, unacceptable, intolerable situation. And that's why we are working intensely to coordinate with other leaders how we respond to this.
22 other countries support the call for more aid. Benjamin Netanyahu says the decision to lift the blockade was a response to comments by Israel's allies in the US. They told him images of people starving to death could lead to them withdrawing their support. But Israel's leaders have now made clear what many human rights observers have long been warning, that Israel wants to control Gaza and force out the Palestinians. But leaving is something many of them say they'll never do. Imogen Kimber, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Well, before we get to our other guests, we're joined on the line by Omar Abuhamad, who's coordinator of Heroic Hearts. He's currently evacuating his area in Khan Yunis. Omar, thanks for being with us. What's happening around you right now?
Okay, it is a catastrophe, actually. I'm just saying to the word, to the silent word, we are living the horror again and again. But this time it is unbelievable. This time it's different. Because we don't know where to go and how to go. And the situation is very unbelievable. Without not only food. If I want us to evacuate, I don't have the transportation. It is not available to go. So I'm just trying to hold myself and stand and go on foot. But how about my family? I'm asking myself a lot of questions, how to go. Living in horror, it is not something that we have to say, I am evacuating. This is not just a little word that I have to say it. It is something like a night, day and night. I'm thinking about it, and I'm just asking myself, till when we have to do that? Till when that we have to work to be in this action for our people. I am only a citizen. I am a civilian. I'm just telling you the truth about the story of horror. When you evacuate directly from your own home, as you said, I evacuated from Rafah and reached Khan Younis, and all the supplies that you provide for your family, you will lose them directly because you have to evacuate from this place to another place. It is not the first time to evacuate from my fifth place, Khan Younis, to Mawasi Khan Younis, because just they asked us to leave, and we have to leave. We have to leave to save our life. But by the way, do you think Mawasi is a safe? Do you think that it's a safe place? It is not a safe place. But we are just saying to ourselves, maybe we have to do this because we need to save our lives, because we are not just numbers. To all who call us numbers, we are not numbers here living in Gaza. We are people, we are human. I'm asking to all the human beings, you actually have everything. You have everything, but you don't have the humanity. You have everything to look and you have your eyes, your mind, but you don't have the feeling of being a human being. This is my message to all one of this world.
Omar, tell us about your organisation, Heroic Hearts. How difficult has it become over the past few weeks to operate, to feed people there?
To be honest with you, that we are struggling during this starvation because of the lack of the food, the crossing of the closure of the crossing for more than 80 days. Until now, they are just saying that they open it. It is not open, by the way. Only just some trucks reach it to some places. We are in fake news that they are sharing. We are hearing. But in the ground, something different. In the ground, we are facing a lot of troubles. We are facing a lot of things. We are talking about unbelievable situation. I am just talking to you now, and I'm just evacuating and bombing near me. The situation, actually, it is horrible. We are living in we can say, in a big jail, and all of the airstrikes just hit us randomly without anything. We are talking about starvation. We are working hard in order to feed people. We have only 1,000. Now we have 10,000 who are coming to our free. So for every soap kitchen, we are coming to us. The situation is actually, I can't describe it, but in short, I have to say to you, we are living the catastrophic disaster. We are living according to the minister of being sharing us about the humanity, but it is not about the humanity at all.
Okay. Omar, many thanks indeed for being with us. So we really appreciate it. We wish you well. Let's bring in our guests. We're joined from London today by Afif Safieh, former Palestinian diplomat and former ambassador to the United Kingdom and Washington, D.C. In Vienna is Lex Takkenberg, senior advisor on the Question of Palestine program at the Arab Renaissance for Democracy and Development, or ARDD. And from Tel Aviv, Meron Rapaport, editor at the website Local Call and a political commentator. Good to have you with us, gentlemen. Meron, let's start with you. Israel's Prime Minister then has vowed to take control of all of Gaza. His finance minister said that Israel will conquer, cleanse and stay. That's been the plan all along, hasn't it? Despite earlier denials, Israel intends to ethnically cleanse the Strip and to occupy it.
I don't know if it was the plan all along, and I don't know exactly where the army was in this, but certainly now, since Israel broke the ceasefire in the beginning of March, yes, this is the aim. It is being said openly by Prime Minister Netanyahu, by Finance Minister Smotrich, and also practically by the army that is saying that the goal of this operation is to move, to drive away the people to the south, to Rafah area. And this is, of course, unofficially, but to implement what in Israel is called the Trump's plan, meaning the expulsion of the people of Gaza outside of Gaza into other countries. This is, at the moment, this is the aim, and starvation is and was and is still one of the tools to achieve this goal.
Afif, what do you make of that? Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer told Parliament on Tuesday that the level of suffering in Gaza is utterly intolerable and that he was horrified by the escalation by Israel. Will the threats of action against Israel by three of its key allies, Britain, France and Canada, make any difference to what's happening on the ground right now?
I think it will start making a difference from now on, even though it's long overdue. I believe that our generation would be asked in the future, how was this all allowed to happen? 600 days of an unnecessary bombardment, a genocide which we were watching, unbearable images day after day. I personally believe that international pressure is necessary more than before. And I believe that some rumblings on Capitol Hill by Netanyahu's useless lackeys have been also influential on Netanyahu, allowing a little bit of the humanitarian aid to trickle in. But what is needed today is, one, to liberate UNRWA, which is an institution capable of distributing aid and has the capability and the personnel and the warehouses and the schools, etc. We need to have bulldozers allowed in, caravans, tents of different sizes so that classes and teaching can resume. And we need to have food arriving at the areas where people are still present and not in certain areas that the Israelis would like to drive the population towards. I believe that the Israeli game is now obvious to everybody who wants to admit it. They want to make Gaza totally unlivable, just as they did in 1948. In 1948, they leveled to the ground 518 villages immediately, so that not to allow the exercise of the right of return to be possible. Now they are making Gaza unlivable. Over 90% of buildings have been totally destroyed and damaged, and the world has allowed it to happen. As a diplomat, sir, I feel ashamed, because war for 600 unnecessary days is the failure of diplomacy. And let me tell you very frankly, I'm really disappointed and distressed that a weakened Trump, when he came to visit the Arab countries, the three Arab countries, he was weakened by the blunders of his first 100 chaotic days, where he blundered towards Mexico, Canada, the European allies, etc. And on the economic level, international chaos in the global market, he was in a listening mood. Unfortunately, the leaders of Saudi Arabia, of Qatar, of the Arab Emirates did not tell him the depth of feeling in Arab and Muslim public opinion. Right. And I believe, had he conveyed that message, Trump was in a listening mood, but unfortunately. And I'm angry as a diplomat and an Arab.
We'll come back. Afif, we'll come back to the Trump administration's role in all of this in just a moment. But first, Lex, what are we to make of Netanyahu's decision to allow this limited amount of aid into Gaza, and of the widely reported plan to allow armed contractors to distribute aid instead of established and experienced aid organizations?
It is very similar to what Israel a year ago, with US support, and successfully tried. You'll remember the military peer, the involvement of also military contractors, Fogbo, and another Geneva-based pseudo-humanitarian foundation. It did not work well at that time. You remember how quickly the peer disappeared, and it will not work now. And eventually, Israel will be forced to allow the resumption of the US-led aid system, which has been tested over decades, literally, which is having resources at the border, which is ready to move in, and as we have seen since yesterday. And I believe, as a result of American pressure, the gates are again slowly opening, but there is simply no alternative. And if Israel's plan would succeed, it would threaten the very future of humanitarian action, not just in the OPT, but globally. But it won't work, and it will not work. The UN has declined to cooperate. The Gulf countries clearly told Trump they would not fund it. And as Trump had to sort of climb down with his Riviera plan, giving Israel the freedom to experiment with an alternative aid system, the Americans have now said, okay, if that won't work, give us an alternative. And that's where we are at the moment. And I think the UN humanitarian agency operation will be scaled up in the coming days, as it should, hopefully supported by also a US pressured full ceasefire.
Okay, Meron, what does an expansion of Israel's military operation in Gaza actually mean? It's already in Gaza. It's destroyed much of the Strip's infrastructure and many of the buildings there. It's basically bombing rubble now, isn't it? What are its military objectives, and to what extent is this military expansion politically motivated?
I think it's 100% politically motivated. I think the military objective do not really exist at the moment. It is totally a political move. It is not even a move to an operation aimed at releasing the hostages. It's quite clear to everyone that the hostages will not be released to military operation. The hostages, the ex-hostages, say that themselves and also their families. I think the idea here is to break down the structure of Palestinian society, what is left of it, to drive the people into some small areas in the Strip, in the Gaza Strip. Some in the very south, some maybe in the middle around Khan Yunis, some maybe a little bit in the north, but in very, very small areas to supply maybe aid there, using it as a pressure to on the Palestinian to accept deportation from Gaza. That's the idea. And also, I think, the areas that Israel will take, and maybe we will see that now in Khan Yunis unfolding now, I think there is a great chance that once the population will flee Khan Yunis, Israel will come in and start demolishing Khan Yunis as it did in Rafah in the last 2 months. Rafah does not exist anymore. And I think this is the idea, to come in and just destroyed everything. And Smotrich and Netanyahu are saying it openly.
Afif, let's get back to the Trump administration. After securing the release of a dual US-Israeli captive last week, there'd been hopes that President Trump would be able to broker a ceasefire. That didn't happen. Trump didn't visit Israel when he was in the region last week. And as soon as he'd left the region, Israel launched this major new ground offensive. What are we to make of all of this? What's going on behind the scenes? Is there a rift between the White House and Israel? Is the Trump administration putting any pressure at all on Israel to end this war?
You know, each time we are promised from Washington pressure on the Israeli side, it turns out to be as though America has the political weight of Luxembourg or Liechtenstein. No, I believe that they have a complicated relationship, Trump and Netanyahu. Yet it's with American support that Netanyahu has waged the war from the Biden administration previously, now with the Trump administration. I personally believe that the key is in Washington, and somebody, the Arab leaders, have to tell Trump that in a world where America is a dominant power, aligning themselves on one belligerent party in a regional conflict not only alienates all the other players in the region, but also offends and alienates part of the domestic American social fabric. It isn't easy to be a Palestinian American. It isn't easy today to be an Arab American, a Muslim American, and even a Jewish American, because there have been changes within the American Jewish community that are very constructive. I'm deeply moved by all those demonstrations that occur regularly in Washington and in New York by Jewish institutions and individuals who say, not in our name. Trump should become aware of the changing landscape. In America itself, opinion polls show that even within the Republican ranks, there are people who are extremely uncomfortable with Israeli policies and practices and misbehavior. And I would like to remind Mr. Trump that in 2015, when he started to launch his first presidential bid during the Republican primaries, he spoke of a neutral America in the Middle East. It's unfortunate that then he was embraced by some pro-Israeli oligarchs and the Christian evangelicals, and then he changed the tone and the tune. I think we should remind him of his political message of American neutrality in regional conflicts, a message that he carried in 2015 and allowed him to win several primaries, which means that there is a substantial body of people within Republican ranks who would favor that type of policy of non-Israeli alignment. And the key is there. This is why I'm distressed as an Arab that of the failure of the Arab Summit meeting a few days ago, where Arab leaders competed on who will not be attending. Well, it's an important historical moment once a year where they could have shown their message. And I believe in international relations, we should always emphasize that the international will should prevail on a national whim or a personal will. And this war
Afif, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Afif. I want to get a question in for Lex and another one for Meron. Lex, the UN says that 14,000 babies could die in Gaza in the next 48 hours without aid. If Israel were to lift its blockade or to be forced to lift its blockade, how quickly could the distribution of aid be scaled up?
And be scaled up instantly and immediately to the extent that the UN will be given access not just to sort of the area around Rafah, but indeed the road to the center and to the north, and that is of course within Israel's full control to make that access available. But without it, just sort of bringing it into Rafah and into sort of temporary warehouses where it will be stored does not solve the immediate risk of starvation. So access must be accompanied by a full ceasefire, or at least sufficient coordination and deconfliction to enable the UN to reach the people in need, which at the moment is the entire population, with indeed that focus on babies and women and children that are under the highest risk. I spoke with former colleagues in Gaza yesterday, and they told me they're living in a twilight zone between life and death, literally waiting for when it will be their turn. I mean, and with more and more of Gaza out of bounds for Palestinians, I mean, for Palestinians to find access to shelter, to indeed distribution points where food can be made available, and to safety is shrinking. So we're seeing a catastrophic situation, and it's critical that indeed, as Mr. Safieh states, that the Arab states, step up their pressure on Trump to expand the access and to stop Israel's latest onslaught and accept a full ceasefire. This cannot wait.
Maren, do people in Israel still have confidence in the government and the army? Does Israel have the manpower to occupy the whole of the Gaza Strip and to forcibly expel Palestinians?
Well, the question of confidence, I think it is not only the government is having very little confidence. According to all the polls, 70% of Israelis want the war over and a deal to an exchange of the hostages for the end of the war and releasing Palestinian prisoners. So there is a huge majority for that for many months. But I think even Israelis are starting to lose confidence in the army itself. The army was used to be a little bit above political discussion. Now it is perceived by many as a tool of Netanyahu's government in order to achieve his political goals. So yes, I think the confidence, the army itself is losing confidence by the day. And we heard today Yair Golan, the ex-deputy chief of staff, saying that killing babies should not be a habit, referring to what Israel is doing in Gaza.
So, Maren, does Israel have, as I said, the manpower to occupy the whole of the Gaza Strip and to forcibly expel Palestinians?
That's a question I think nobody has a real answer to it. I think at the moment Israel is using only the regular army. It does not really use the reserve force. And because it knows that there could be many reservists that will not show up, but we don't know. At the moment, just bombing, you don't need a lot of manpower for that. If the idea is just to carpet bombing Gaza, you don't need a lot of manpower for that. So for the moment, the manpower is enough. But to control Gaza, really, the 2 million people in Gaza, that will need more people, and there the problems may pop up.
All right, gentlemen, there, I'm afraid we must end it. Many thanks indeed for being with us, Afif Safieh, Lex Takkenberg and Maren Rappaport. And thank you for watching. You can see the programme again at any time by going to the website. That's at aljazeera.com. For further discussion, join us at our Facebook page. You'll find that at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And of course, you can join the conversation on X, our handle there at AJ Inside Story. From me, Adrian Finighan, and the team here in Doha, thanks for being with us. We'll see you again. Bye for now.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.